Hello and welcome to Module 3, Week 3 in PA 460. And we are looking at policy alternatives and performance measurement this week. And I will open up the overview here. There's your learning objectives. There's the video you're watching. And you will have the same structure as the last couple weeks, which is a part 1, a part 2, both pertaining to a chapter in the text. You will have videos in those chapters, which I'll show you all that in a minute. And you're watching a TED Talk for discussion 3, and you are posting your response as well as responding to another student's post. And you have your third exercise. This is the last exercise, performance measurement, and you will also have a document to download prior to taking this, to help you with understanding the concept as well as to do well on the exercise. Reading quiz 3 is for chapters 5 and 6, and that's the same. So moving on, we have part 1, and this is chapter 5. And the beginning of chapter 5 also goes into this situation in Alabama. So you'll have some context for this video, or this video can give you context for the text, either way. And you have a summary of the video. It's not very long, so I would watch it, and it's important in understanding how policy can sometimes be not have the outcomes one was hoping for, and how it can clash with equity issues. So problem analysis is very important. And you will see a description here from the text. You will learn what problem analysis is, and I'll show you the components of problem analysis in a second, which you should look at and make sure you have some understanding of. Hint, hint for the quiz. Operational measures are something like the unemployment rate, etc. Basic descriptive statistics, you probably have been exposed to this. Maybe you have not, it's okay. And those are things, mean or the average. The median is the middle point of data, and the frequency count is just the number that certain situation or certain observation occurs. All three are important in understanding research data and analysis. Components of problem analysis here. Make sure to know the differences here. Again, I'm giving you a hint for the quiz. So you have defining the problem stage, measuring the problem, and then there's lots of samples I gave you here. Determine the extent or magnitude of the problem. So extent or magnitude means how prevalent something is. And think about the problem's causes. How did they come about? There's two types of causes that we look at. There's root causes. It's fundamental, most significant reason or issue. Proximate causes are more to do with indirect sometimes, or immediate, but not necessarily the root cause of a problem. And we go into different examples throughout this course and this module. And then proximate versus root causes. So the example I give is, for a certain individual, the proximate causes of their immediate homelessness may be the recent loss of a job and not having any money. However, the root causes of their homelessness may be untreated mental illness and or substance abuse issues, which ultimately make it very difficult for the individual to maintain employment and accrue resources. So that gives you an example of the difference between root and proximate. Sometimes people confuse them. Then you have the stage, again, we're looking at Patton, Sawicki, and Clark, that is set goals or objectives. So what should be done about the problem? Why? What are the goals, objectives? Usually objectives are a series of things you want to see happen related to a goal. A goal is a little more general than an objective. Objective is a little more specific. And then determine what can be done. So after we look at that, we look at construct policy alternatives. Policy alternatives is the vernacular in public administration and public policy for the different policy solutions that may be available for a given situation. So it's not a policy alternative in the vernacular of regular way we speak, where we say, well, it's a policy alternative, meaning we'll do that if something else doesn't work, or we can do that instead of that. In this case, a policy alternative means any policy solution associated with the problem. So no action analysis, that's easy. What would happen if nothing is done? Literature review, you've probably had to do this before, and that's an objective review of books, journal articles, documentaries, etc. And you can look at what policy alternatives have been used in the past, and what success they've had or failure. Information sources, secondary sources, despite the name, you think secondary, use them second, are actually probably one of the prime sources of data. And these are from US government departments, states, different agencies, etc. Meaning secondary, the only reason it's called secondary is because they've already collected the data and they have massive budgets and resources to do so. Primary source data is collected by the investigator themselves. So if you were doing a research project, it'd be data that you collected yourself, and not data like, oh, I went to the US Census and Bureau and I picked out all of these different spreadsheets that they have. That's still secondary. Primary source would mean I interviewed this person directly and this is what I heard, etc. Primary is a little bit more difficult to collect, takes more time, but valuable. And it's usually more connected to, with case study analysis, things of that nature. So I put this in again because it's very important. The instruments of public policy and how we're going to use each name to define them. Again, use this list. It's from the previous module. You have the link to download it in module 2, and read through this again if you had trouble with the exercise last week, so you understand how we're defining the different things, instruments of public policy, things that government can do in this course, because there's lots of different ways that you can call things. And again, something can be more than one thing. A subsidy is could be a market mechanism, etc. Then you have the Privatizing America, that's short. And we go into public-private partnerships and some of the issues there. So part 2 is chapter 6. Here is a video I put together actually last year or the year before, my apologies, but it goes through all of the performance measurement items that you will need, one for the exercise, but also for the remainder of this course. So we talk about inputs, outputs, and outcomes. Oftentimes, knowing the difference between an output and an outcome is important. People interchange those terms, but they're very different. For this course and for most courses, an output would be the direct product or service created by inputs. Inputs are resources, could be the salary of an employee, could be the paper they're using to write on, whatever, the office space. Those are inputs. And then outputs are what's actually the product or service the government or government agency or P3, whatever, is producing, the service for citizens. Outcomes is different. Outcomes are related to goals. So you could have an output that's a product, and then you're hoping that it positively affects the outcomes, the goals of the policy. And I go into that quite a bit. Evaluative criteria. This is from the text. We use some of this. I've changed it and made a little, combined a few to give you a little bit less number of items, and I'll show you that in a second. So this is what the text says. These are all great definitions. And this is just like the others. For the purpose of this course, these are the ones we're going to be studying. So efficiency versus effectiveness, often this is confused because people will use efficiency to describe effectiveness. But efficiency for this course, just think of the number of inputs needed to produce one output. That is how you measure efficiency. Effectiveness is how is it actually meeting the goals of the program. So you can have something that's very efficient but not effective. And I give you an example in the lecture. Equity, this is public policy context. So this is going to be different from like the equity in your home. Equity is concerned with policy output, access, benefits, who has access, why, what are negative externalities associated, etc. So equity is it fair? Think fairness. Administrative capacity is very important. If you hear some thunder in the background, we rarely get rain here out in Imperial Valley, but we are getting it this Labor Day weekend. And we have thunder, which is very rare. So hopefully I'll get through this and not lose power. So administrative capacity, think, does the unit of government charged with implementation have the capacity to complete the job? And this could be resources, technology, access, etc. Oftentimes, local government, be it county or municipal, sometimes do not have the capacity. First of all, there's great variance in capacity based on size generally, but also socioeconomic factors between units, between municipalities and counties. But oftentimes they may not have the capacity to address problems effectively. And that's an ongoing thing in government across the world. I combined these two from the textbook, political feasibility and social acceptability, just combine into one category. So will a political party support or oppose a program, or will a significant number of residents support or oppose a proposal? And, there's different groups within parties that may support or may not. Will a special interest group promote or fight a policy action? Some special interest groups are stronger than others and have more resources. Liberty, legality, does the policy adhere to the law? And then transparency, which does the public have access to the information, etc. And you go through all of these, you go here, you print this out or keep a copy in your computer, review it first, and then have it handy when you take the quiz. The exercise, excuse me. So you also have intro to cost benefit analysis, which is another, gives you some context there, helps you understand the concept better. To watch, it's not very long. Here's the definition, cost benefit analysis. We have other types of analyses. We're not going to get into them as much in this course. This is more of a general public policy course, but just so that you know what they are. Cost effectiveness versus cost benefit, they're very similar, but they're going to be looking at different outcomes. Risk assessment, forecasting, impact assessment, implementation analysis, program evaluation. All of these things are used, and there's definitely some use, like forecasting, you'll have an impact assessment or cost effectiveness analysis, etc. So they're not mutually exclusive. They often overlap. So then TED Talk 3, a practical way to help homeless find work and safety. This is important because for the second half of the semester, you're going to be working on with your group, either by yourself or with your group members, and doing your policy worksheets. So the examples I give you an example for each worksheet, which you'd really pay attention to the second half of the semester if you want good grades and to be able to focus on those worksheets. Please look at the examples. But the example I use is based on this policy here. So watch it a few times, make you understand the concept, and then you'll be able to look at those examples I give you later for your own worksheets and understand them more clearly. Most of you responded to a fellow student, the vast majority. A couple of you didn't. Please make sure to respond to someone else, and you do this after you post your response. Then you get access to other responses. Otherwise, you're going to lose a point on that. And we have 100 points for the semester, so it does add up. Here's your performance measurement exercise. Again, have that performance measurement document. Review it first so that you don't have to go, so they can finish in time and you have an understanding of where to look on the form itself. And then you'll have a scenario, and then what is the term best associated with that. And then finally, you have your chapter 5 and 6. You have a reading quiz based on the information. I gave you a few hints there. And that will be it for this week. So have a great Labor Day weekend. And I will see you next week as we will talk about your exam. Obviously, it's not next week. Don't panic. It's the week after. But hopefully you are enjoying the course. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime.